Well, it's just a matter of taste. You know what I mean? Hey,
I'm
what
in.
book do you would you recommend so that I can also copy the description on it whenever we're talking about it? Do you have a book that you'll recommend to the audience as they're listening to the podcast?
Or podcast content. It's
I mean,
it's not just
what type of
books.
book?
So
What
we
type of
ask,
book?
what do we? So it's going to be like, hey, for the transitioning service member, what do you
Oh,
recommend for them?
um, I mean, as far as books goes, the only ones I've read have been about PTSD, and I can't think of one like off the cuff right now.
Have you
I do
have
recommend
you
people to go to
read
the YouTube channel Combat Craig quite a
which
bit
one?
because
That's fine.
Combat Craig, his YouTube channel
Yeah.
for making your VA claim and getting your benefits, he's great.
He doesn't charge anything, correct?
Nope. He just
Good.
does videos. I'm pretty sure he's a VSO because he's pretty up to date on a lot of the changes and stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
He has a green background.
Yes.
Combat Craig. Yeah,
Yep.
all the way across. Perfect. We'll add that.
He's a
Uh,
great resource.
Let
Yeah.
me ask you this completely, like, or have you read or listened to "The Body Keeps the Score"?
No.
So I would recommend it. However, with the huge caveat, huge, and I do mean to emphasize this, 1,000 exclamation points. Um, be ready to deal with some of the shit that is going to trigger.
Okay.
Okay, like I was listening to it, and I was like, oh, because everybody told me about this book, and I was like, oh, it's just another book, self-help bullshit, bro. This book like triggered a lot of shit in me, and it even triggered me into a depression. And I was like, I was not ready for that, so I didn't. It just hit me, and then I was like, oh shit, it's because of this book, and it took me a while. It took me like about a week and a half, 2 weeks to kind of restabilize myself because I didn't know what was triggering it, and like a very smart
Yep.
person, I'm still listening to the book as I'm going into this deep dive, and I'm like, yeah, I probably should take it slower and not by myself, but yeah. So it's a really good book. It's just like I said, it's intense.
Mhm. That's what sucks about being one on the Battle Buddies app is, even though I'm pretty far along in my PTSD treatment, I'll be on there, talking with a veteran, and they'll say some things that immediately it's like, yep, that happened to me, and it puts me back into that place. And
Yeah.
it takes me like after I do a call, sometimes it'll take me like a good half hour of like relaxing and putting on some like relaxing music or something to where I can bring my emotions back down and be like, okay. But now I'm to the point where it's like I know that's what it is, so
Right.
my mind handles it rationally. So I don't get the bad, like I used to get bad attacks where I thought I was having a heart attack. I don't get those
Yes.
anymore.
Yeah, me too. That, or you just get your emotions are all over the place, and you're like, you don't realize until somebody points it out, and you're like, oh, my bad.
Yep.
I know what started it now that you mentioned this, but I would have, if you hadn't mentioned it, I would have never been able to, identify it. Yeah, it's interesting. And the book talks about this. We don't uh, associate a lot when it comes to talking to civilians about what we're doing because they don't really know how to relate. They don't have
Yeah.
that specific background. But once we talk to another veteran, we open up. It's easier to let all those things out. But we also have to be very very aware of how do we respond personally, so that we're able to mitigate whatever is going to trigger within us too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny is I've got my friends that I can call, you know, who I know, you know, they know enough about what's happening to me and whatnot that I don't have to relive the trauma. I'll just call them or text them and be like, hey, I'm having a bad attack. Here's what's happening. And, you know, we just get on the line and just start talking about, you know, what's going on. And yeah, you feel better then, you know, just even though it's someone on the other side of the country.
Right. And I think you mentioned a very huge key, not having to relive the trauma, not having to re-traumatize yourself, and to start from the beginning, because that just gets frustrating at some point after saying it over and over and over again to someone else that is not going to understand, because their immediate answer is going to be like, well, why don't you do this? Here's the answer to your problem. You're like, dude, you have no idea what this is.
I don't know how you guys like to keep your show. You want to go dark, I can go dark. You know, like we can talk about my lowest points. I don't have to. I'm actually, you know, the way I do my shows, I try to keep it all fun. That's just me and my personality, but I can go as dark or as lighthearted as you guys want. I'm not a person who's going to be like, yeah, I'm not going to talk about that. Like,
right.
Nothing's going to badly affect me from doing the show.
No, so for us, right, we've gone to very, very dark places. Both Chris and I have had trauma, and with that, we have gone to really dark places, and we didn't even know we were going to, or actually, to be honest, it was not part of the plan. It just kind of went through, and we're like, oh, well, here we are. We already talked about this. The can of worms is already open. Might as well just go through it. You know what I mean? It's not something that I would tell you we do on purpose. If it comes up, it comes up. You know.
I'll tell you, like those are the stories that I save for if I'm doing a show and I get through all the things I want to get through, and I'm like, oh, I gotta like keep this going. And then I'll be like, okay, so let me tell you about the first time I considered suicide, you know? Like,
right.
Or here, let me show you what they did to F with me this time. Yeah, so I save those stories for those type of things.
Got you. Well, Chris, we can get started unless you wanna say anything else. We're good?
I mean, I think we're good, man. Yeah, we'll just we got pretty warmed up. So
veterans, why are they advertising on the radio? That's not where the young people, they need to start advertising on podcasts like ours.